Good afternoon, guys. How are we doing? Samuel here, dropping in again. So I just completed some projects, and I want to do a quick small demo for you. Obviously, this is a advanced level, so I am assuming that if you're watching this, you have a degree level of coding. You understand how Ruby works, you understand how JavaScript works, you understand React and Redux. Again, this is nothing extremely fancy, but just created something thought was quite interesting. I just wanted to share briefly a quick demo. So I'm gonna touch on the back end quickly, and simply what I did, and I also created my notes here for me to have reference to. So we could use that in case I run out of thoughts or something came, I forgot something. So here we are. First of all, for this project, as you can see right there, it's a CRUD application, created, which simply means create, review, edit, and delete. The goal, what this app's supposed to do on its own, it's actually to help us uh, create a blog post as well as see what blog post has been created in the past. And also we can even edit the blog post, and also we can vote on the blog post. So clicking, this is what the app look like while it's running. Okay, you have an actual blog post listing all the blog post that's been created. You could upvote it, you could downvote it if you like it, yeah, and you can vote it to the negative. You could click on the blog post itself, and it shows you that. You can edit the blog post, a Star Wars story about the Last Jedi. I'm gonna edit it and say Star Wars. Star Wars as for title, and we're gonna say something like could be better. There we go. See? Now if we go right back into our blog, you see Star Wars could be better. Right there, he updates it. So how's all of this happening? Right? What the heck is going on here? Well, let me drop back in quickly into the backend. So this is two different applications. One runs on Ruby, the other one runs on React and Redux. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to go over the backend quickly. So this is what our database is. Okay, like I mentioned earlier, this is a CRUD application, and as we all know, the way Ruby works, it has certain steps you have to follow. So a couple of things I did, first of all, is I used the generator for Ruby to create this app, and from there, a model was created, which gives us the blog post, which is right here. I put some validations in there, which means a title and content must be present, and each must be unique, which means you can create the same title and content that are exactly the same. Had to sterilize in there because I really want to see only the title and the content. Again, this is a surface level stuff, and I'm not going in a particular order here, so please don't be dismayed about this. For my routes, blog post, and the goal of the backend simply is to give us all JSON data. Then I did some small seed file that we could use, and some seed data, if you want to call it. Well, seed data, that's pretty much what it's called. And obviously I have some migrations as well, which is rocking and rolling in here. So just to show you that this is working, if we go on the website, or if we go on that and we say localhost, because that's where our app is running at, localhost, right? And we say /blogpost.json. See, everything that's there could be better as we just changed it. It's on the back end as well. So that's good news for us, and everything we ever created is on the back end as well, spitting out JSON. Now, even if I say something like, I don't want JSON and I just want the data by itself, it does that for us as well. But I just think JSON is much better. So we say .json like we had it before, and there you go. Okay, so that's it with the back end. And I'm going to minimize that since we're not going to so much focused on that. So the front end, this is the bread and butter. This is where things is rocking and rolling. This is what our user sees. The front end was built on React and Redux, which is a hyper version of JavaScript, and quite powerful when it's done properly. And again, this is assuming that you have some knowledge of React, you have some knowledge of Redux, you know JavaScript to a good amount, okay? And how I have this app running is I simply said npm start and making sure that my backend was running already. Then the front end came in to pair up with that. So our app simply, when it's presented, you know, you go into your app page or app.js, excuse me, then it goes to blog post container, so which is like a quick hub where everything is. And that simply, the way I see React is, you know, you have this small containers of components. I see them as like a bus station that you have a big hub that they all go to and from, where they get the information as needed. So I've always seen app.js as that, and it kind of mentally helped me arrange what I need to work on and what components I need to work on. So fast forward, let me even quickly shoot over quickly, if I could get access to it. Some of the things that we're using, some quick packages that I think will be relevant for us, and just a longer version. But obviously we have, you know, name version and the whole gamut with that. We have the build. There's no test for this, so we just building this out. So this pretty much, this is what this looks like, our package. And one thing I've actually forgot to mention, and you got to forgive me on this, on the back end piece, okay, on the back end, we are running something called, let me see, rig crocs. And what does that do for us? So the way rig croc does, once this is installed and you run it, right, you're going to go into your configure, you're going to go into initialize. See, there's the file right there. And this is what it's saying is, simply, normally when you have two servers trying to interact, there's a good chance there might be a conflict. But that rig croc says, as long as there's a start here, which is saying, you know, any request that is made to this backend, remember this is a backend, should be accepted no matter where it comes from. Now, in a real world situation, that may not be the safest way to do this. But again, for the all intents purposes of this app, that's what we're going with. And they simply help us to, our front end app, our blog post front end, to request information that's needed from the back end. And that's what this does for us, which I think is pretty cool. All right, so back to the front end. So we're here now, blog container.js. And as you can see, the beautiful thing with React is you get to import stuff and you can use them as kind of how you want. So obviously we have a good navbar going here. We have a switch as well, and we have routes. So what is the importance of this routes? It's saying, when something is clicked, I want you to go to a specific component or render, you know, a specific component, or and use, you know, their props and the whole gamut with that. And as well as, you see, this is that prop, that blog post, which simply is calling this, which, you know, something in JavaScript, or this is the self version of JavaScript, okay, if you know Ruby. So there's that props dot blog post with an S, so that goes here. Then we have this for, pardon me, we have the first one that goes to a specific blog post, which is this component. You see where my mouse is. Then this last one there goes to blog post, listing out all our blog posts. So I'll just break each of these down quickly. And again, this is a quick overview. So let's say we click on add a new blog post. AKA, if we go back on here and we click on, we want to add a new blog post. All right, this takes us to that input portion of this component right here. And with anything just like in HTML. If you're familiar with those, right? You have an input, always you have a placeholder, then this dot state dot title, then obviously an event, right? We call in an onChange event on this. And moving forward, obviously we have a handle change, which is going to change the event. We have this dot set state, and then we also have a handle submit. This dot handle submit is coming from up here. So saying whenever we submit whatever we enter into this, obviously we're gonna want to do an event dot prevent default. So this function itself has its own pre-programmed activity or function the way it works. But this is saying we don't want you to carry out that function. We want you to hold on, and we're going to tell you what to do. Okay. Then we have this dot prop that had BlogPost. This dot state. Then we're going to make our regular. We're going to make whatever we entered down here to be our AKA a new state. But for React, is referred to as this dot. We're setting the state. Okay. And as you can see right here, we give we declare the state, and we give it an empty string for title and content. So let me go over this quickly. So this dot prop does add blog post. So what the heck is that? What does that do for us? Well, this in React is referred to an action. So we given our action this dot state. Remember that our state was empty here. We entered a new information for title and content here. Now that is available to us for us to use. So we're saying here, these dot props that add a blog post an action, and we're giving it an argument of whatever currently our state is. This dot state. So I'm going to quickly jump into add blog post here. If you recollect, when we work with our backend, we have that, which has to have up. We have that HTML. localhost.3000/blogpost. That's JSON, just to see what our data is. But however, since that we here, we want to, first of all, we need to fetch this JSON, all right, /blogpost. Okay, give it a header, and we're saying, listen, we want this content, we want this information. You're going to be, be presented and be used in JSON. Then we want to post to that URL. You could get from a URL, you could post to a URL. Then we want it to stringify it, stringify that data. Then we also had a .then response, okay? And we say response.json. I was given an argument. Then we also have that blog post. Then we have the dispatch we're gonna give with the type and payload of blog post, and in case there's any error, it's going to log that error for us. So what the heck is going on here? JavaScript by its nature is an asynchronous language. Simply means by the time one line is going, the other line below is already going as well. So .then though, because we had a .then here, is saying when we run a post, when we post to this URL, don't do anything to get a response back. And if that response is positive, and it's resolved, like we like to call it, okay, take this action down below. If it's not, show that error, okay? And the beauty of this as well is we're able to run a dispatch, which is another function of its own from inside this, from inside our fetch request, which is very, very cool. And there's a reason why we're able to do that. We're using a middleware named Thunk in this app as well. I'm going to go over that later. But so that's how that is working, and that's how we're able to get our front end to work. So let's say we create a new, we had a new blog post. We say add fresh. And we say fresh blog post. Check out new blog post. We're going to submit it. And if we go to our blog post, see, add fresh blog post right there. Just added it to it. Okay. So that's how that works. Now, let's go back to where we once came from. Going back to that blog container. Okay. Blog post.id. Now, if we choose that we want to see specific blog posts, like we said before, remember, you already have all your blog posts listed. You just click on any of them and it shows us specific blog posts because we have an ID in there, and each blog post has its own ID. Well, how the heck is it doing that? If you go all the way towards the end, it says here, it has that ID, is rendering router props. Then also we have that all the router props we haven't had, but focusing on a specific ID. Now, if we are to go to that blog post ID, it's coming in here as props. We assign it. So that props that's coming in, we said props that blog posts, or a collection of blog posts. You remember we have it all in here. We'll filter over it, and we say if that blog post ID is equals to props that match params.id, and should return the first one that you find that matches it. And once it does that, we're using curly brackets to allow JavaScript in here, and we're saying, well, if that blog post is present, display its title, and if it's not, no. And if that blog post is present, declare or shows content. Then if you notice right inside here, we give that nice option to do an edit blog post, which will import it up here from blog post. So if I jump right back into that component for edit blog post, exact same thing. If you notice, we have that input right here. This that state that title, this that state that content, exact layout like we had, and just like we had in the inputs, in the blog post input, right? We have this that handle that submit, and it's handling everything for us, exactly the same format. The only difference here, though, is, before for the input section, we had to add blog post action here. But for the edit, we have this that prop that edit blog post action, which is going to get that new blog post, okay? And our new blog post is coming from, we assign a variable new blog post to all the blog posts we have in our state already. So we reference that by saying this that state. Then we say, for that blog post I want to edit that ID, our current blog post, which is in this case, it's in props. So say this dot props that specific blog post that blog post ID. Then so all that information packaged into new blog post, and we give it as an argument here. And we are going to go into that action section. So edit blog post, again, fetch like we have there. Same information all the way from up to here. The difference though is instead of post like we did earlier and add a blog post, now we are doing a patch, which is simply saying we're updating it. We don't want to change anything, we're just going to update, okay? And exact same thing runs. The only difference is we have the edit blog post here, and the payload will be blog post. And if it's not resolved through an error, okay? And exact same thing. So just a demo, I'm gonna edit this one right here that we created. Add fresh blog post. Check out new blog post. So we're gonna edit it, and what do we want to add to there? We're gonna say tooth fairy. You said gives $1. Bam. So Tooth Fairy gives $1. And if we go back to all our blog posting, Tooth Fairy gives $1. There you go. So he updates it. And I'm not going to belabor you with everything else, but simply you try to repeat that statement. And the reason why we do this in different components is so that if we decide to scale this app and use it more for, where it's deployed and we need to change something, you don't have to go through the whole app and look for that, for wherever that code is. You just need to change a component, whether it be an action, whether it be a component. You can simply just go in and change that, okay? Now, let me check about the votes real quick. You can downvote, you can upvote. This is a feature that I had to it. I might add more features down the road, but for now, just for functionality purposes, to make sure that we are green light and having it working. So for the component, for the vote piece, the way this worked was, so I'm even going to take you a little bit farther back. All right, so we're in here. Then on all the blog posts, right, I say render vote. Okay, then if you notice, I imported render votes from in here, coming from that render vote component. If we go into render vote component, right, what makes this different from the rest was I use a local state, so making vote only local to this component. And the only difference though is here I use a button on click where you could click to vote or not. All right, so you could upvote or you could downvote with a thumbs up and a thumbs down. Something quite simple. And remember, state is 0 up here, so we said handle upvote clicked function given in an event. And if you notice, for this case, for this one, I did not do event prevent default because there's no need to. It's a local state, I believe. So say let new vote equals this dot our current vote, which is a 0 + 1. Then we have this dot set state, and we're gonna make our vote a new vote, and the exact same thing repeated for the down vote. Now, why is this dot set state important in this same component? What for each of this function? It's important because if we don't have this in here, our vote will only be returning to 1. We'll return it to 0. So you see how we're able to click this several times and the number keep increasing and going down and the number keep decreasing. If this dot set state is not available here, that number is always going to return to 0. So no matter how many times we click it, it's always going to show 1, always going to show 1. And then the reverse is obvious, is what will be happening for down vote and clicked. So, and just some minor stuff. I added a little bit of styling in there. I love a little bit of a background that moves a little bit. So I kind of had a couple of that in there as well. And, give it a little bit of a video background, something fun. So that's pretty much it. You could contact me as SAMREY2018 at gmail.com. And again, it's been a pleasure. If you have any questions, let me know. Okay, take care.